It's amazing. It's like one of those theories, and it's one of those pictures that you sort of see a seller's eyes light up when you say that about the auction process is that, hey, with all due respect, the best property in the world will remain unsold, even if you spent millions of dollars on marketing, if the price is wrong. It's
Correct.
kind of, it's one of those things that, at the end of the day, not only do you guys then with the auction process get to certainly market the property, kind of removing price away from the equation, but second to that is that with the auction process is that you cast that net so much further that then it actually highlights the property even better from that perspective. Now, I guess that I want to break into some individual case studies here, and I want to talk about starting off with how you got your foot in the door, how auction assisted you guys, how we got the property sold. And I want to start off with the property at 200 Palm Ridge in Palm Desert. Okay. Can you guys give us a little bit of background on that property? Scott, maybe you could give us an introduction to how it came to be and how it all happened.
Well, first we have to thank the green team for helping us out with that, Justin and Chad. So they had made a call and had established a relationship along with Bill Pasqualiano with the seller. And the seller had had the property listed for sale, and it was more than a year process of building a relationship with the seller. And truthfully, not coming after the seller to take away a listing from the on-site sales office, but to build the relationship so if he ever needed a plan B. And this particular seller, what was great about him is that he auctioned his wine. He owned a vineyard and they had done some auctioning of wine. So, understanding that we had our non distressed auction platform piqued his interest and it really began the conversation. So, over a period of time, that listing had been on and off the market with the on site sales office multiple times over just under 3 years of time. And so, during that time, when the listing expired, the seller was ready for a plan B. So
So Scott, just to be clear on something, just for my information, price point that it was on the market at previously, how much was it around listed for?
$9.95 million is what it
Okay,
was listed at.
and then it was a provoking phone call on an inbound perspective, because just to be clear, we won't mention who it is, but it's a celebrity winemaker. If we were to say their name, I think 90% of the audience in North America would understand what wine it is. They probably drunk that wine, to be honest. But realistically, is that he had a property, I think, on the coast in California. Bill had made a phone call to him on that property, and then he'd mentioned the property in the desert that had expired, and then you got in come the knights in shining armor, James and Scott, to save the day with the auction process in the desert and actually build the credibility there. Is that so it was that type of introduction that he was just simply fed up that a property at that price point was not moving. Could you explain? I know this is a little bit off that individual topic, but that price point in the desert now, I think now post COVID, and during COVID market and post COVID market, it's a little bit more recognized that there's some real luxury transactions moving in the desert. But post that, pre pandemic, I would go as far as say, and I'm going to shoot from the hip there, these could be just stupid statistics, is that I would say that there's probably only 30, 40 transactions that happen over $10 million in the Coachella Valley a year.
That would be a pretty good estimate, yes.
Yeah, so just to give people an understanding of the marketplace of that, that's a pretty significant high end of the marketplace. Now I think that it's probably doubled the volume of transactions now over that price point, just based on the sheer inflation of prices in the desert. But realistically, I guess that coming into that situation, what was the immediate headwind when you went into that presentation with the sellers, or was there any?
When you say headwind, objection
Yeah,
or
objection. What was their pushback to the auction process? What was it like to get that property listed?
well, no, it was more about building the relationship first and having him understand what the auction platform was and what it was not and how we would implement that strategy. So that property had gone from 9.95 million down to several different price reductions down to just under 8 million. And I just want to say an $8 million property in the desert in 2020, right before COVID, because we went into escrow the day of COVID,
Yeah, that's right.
shelter in place, you can basically double to triple those prices. So a $7 million property in the desert back at the beginning of COVID would be a 15 to $20 million property in Los Angeles, Orange County, San Diego, the Bay Area. So to put some boxes around that, just to understand, we're talking about a very high level of listing when compared to major cities. So it was about the relationship. But the other point was, what's the property worth?
Yeah.
The seller thought it was worth 9.95 because that's what the professionals at the on-site sales office had advised him. And then they started tracking the market down. And this was a motivated seller who just gotten married, was ready to move on because this was his single bachelor pad, and it was time to move on, and was getting frustrated after more than 2 years on the market.
Yeah, yeah. And then so I guess that from going, so you built the relationship over time. I knew it took a lot of time to bring it to market. And obviously those type of people want to cultivate that. James, through the process, once it goes live, was there a lot of interest in the property in comparison to it being on the market traditionally?
Mm, I think it piqued the interest of the club members because we held a very structured by invitation only open house for the club members, and we had a great turnout. And so, in that respect, it was something new for the club members to take a look at. So we had several private showings after the open house of these. So definitely the auction platform and the open house launched it because in these clubs they all know one another, they all socialize together, and they all talk.
Yeah.
And so that started the momentum of getting the property the visibility it deserved.
So let's be selfish for a minute. Question to the both of you guys. Using this as an opportunity, because it being different, to provoke conversation, to provoke the club members, the residents of the community, to come in and talk to you guys about it. What would you say was the residual income, or what do you think that gave you guys, if you were going to quantify it into dollars? That you might not have exchanged any of these dollars at the moment, but the people that you met and the possible future business out of the people you met, would we be talking $100 million worth of real estate?
I haven't thought about quantifying it at that particular level because since that transaction, there's been so many.
Yeah.
At the high end, because once you break into the fraternity and sorority, they start paying attention. So that open house gave us the ability for all the club members that might not know who we are, who would hear whatever they'd heard through the rumblings through within their own club community. Who are these guys? We don't know that. We've never. Who's Harcourts? What's all that?
Yeah.
Gave us the ability to set a foundation within the club to build trust and respect within the community, so that truthfully, once that property did close, we now had a reputation, and that began our journey in terms of really beginning to not just develop our business at Bighorn, but at the Vintage and other luxury clubs. So we want to quantify that now into dollars. I think 100 million. I don't think we can, I don't look at it in that type of respect. I look at it more in the value is unlimited because it continues to feed our business. And every year,
that's a good point. That's a really good point.
2022, most realtors suffered. James and I had our best year in our entire 24-year real estate career. So we knocked it out of the ballpark. And part of it was the focus on the luxury brand. And we really have quadrupled our average sales price now since when we started with Harcourts as a result of the auction platform.
Now, tell me, just finish this property out at 200 Palm Ridge. Finish this property out. Goes live. What's the story of getting it all the way through to closing?
Went live. We the first event was a by invitation only for the open house club members. You are not able to hold a public open house in a private club at this level. It will not happen. We then had a by invitation only cocktail reception for the top 100 realtors within the Coachella Valley. That was all by private limousine, all catered and sponsored as well. We had about 65 to 70 come through at that event. So between the open house and then those happened 1 week within each other, we created a really a tsunami of marketing and advertising that went out. And then our phone began ringing. That was the end of January is when we had put that onto the market, going through the whole process. And it was March 17th. I know, or it may have been March 18th. I might be one day off. You just look up shelter in place, California, and we'll know what that date was. That is the date we went under contract and sold 30 days later, all cash on that property.
Wow, that's amazing. You know, I think that, so through to the auction, that actually happened prior to auction, or was it post auction?
That happened prior to auction. We never went to auction, which which has been our gift here in the desert, we haven't been going to auction because we typically, through all of our efforts, we're able to secure an acceptable offer for our sellers, and we haven't had to go to auction that often.
And I think that the important part of understanding the process that you guys understand better than most is using the anonymity of competition with the leverage of the auction date leading into it. That I understand like that it provides you a leverage of a negotiation that you typically wouldn't have in a traditional sense, because at these luxury price points, they'd be looking at it going, it's been on the marketplace for 6 months. I know I'm not in competition. I'm the only person that you guys have. They will take a hard and nosed approach to the negotiation, being that buyer, versus the fact of like, hey guys, you can either stop the auction or you can be in competition on auction day. Which one would you want? And it provides that little bit more leverage in that negotiation that I know you guys have done a very, very good job of harnessing, certainly in these environments. Let's use another example. Let's talk about another example. We've got the property at 527 Mesquite Hills in Palm Desert as well. Was that one in, which club was that one in?
That was a Bighorn Golf Club as well.
Now, where did this listing come from?
From our direct mail farming, based on our success at 200 Palm Ridge.
Wow.
And that seller had been paying attention and collecting and saving the direct mail pieces, the farm pieces. And he picked the phone one day and called Scott and had a conversation. And it turns out he's a major builder out of Denver of 40 years who's built literally thousands of apartments and homes. And he's built several custom homes at Bighorn. So he's a well-known club member.
Wow. So amazing how one thing turns into another and it starts to snowball. So then tell us, had this property previously been on the market, or was this a renewal property to market?
That'd been on the market as well by two different agents. First, the on-site sales office had it for about a year to year and a half. And then another agent that is a well-known agent, top producing agent who I respect and really has been a great team member on other things for us, took the listing as well, but it was just always priced too high. You know, the world of real estate, this is an Italian masterpiece, and so many people have been focusing on modern that there were some limitations to that property. One of the most beautiful properties you'd ever sold, but you had the architectural style objection to overcome it. It's difficult to price in something like that, but this property, just like the other Bighorn property, had started out right around 10 million and chased it all the way down to about, I believe they had it at 6.7 million.
Wow.
when it expired and when we took it over.
I think that, there's something to be said about you guys coming in to save the day, riding in to save the day with the auction process to keep the integrity of these properties. Because, you said this before, Scott, and I want to really touch on this as a point right now, is that what are these things worth? Who knows? Like I think it's an insult to these people, these intelligent people that have obviously done very well in business, to sit in front of them and try and predict what their property is worth when you're not willing to write a check for it. And that, I think, at this price point, in these markets, in this exclusive territory, is worth its weight in gold on its own right for auction.
Agreed.
So tell us about this one. As it comes onto the marketplace, what was your bidding to start from price on this property in Mesquite Hills?
4.5 million.
And then, so tell us the journey of this one. When did it sell, and how did that process go?
That it was a fun process. I was the lead on that, so a lot of on the high-end luxury auctions to keep myself in the flow of not just being the managing broker and coaching our agents. James runs our private business, but I get in, and my name's attached to all that. But when it gets to the super luxury or the high-end luxury, I am always involved because I want that ability to coach and train all of our agents. So on this, we listed, it was mid to end January. Again, we had a showing actually while I was at the Harcourts North American Sales Conference, actually right before, the week before, and it was a club member who received another one of our postcards and called me directly because he wanted additional information, and he wasn't getting it from his previous realtor, so we were the realtor he called. And I took him on his first tour, and then a week later he wanted to go back again, and one of our agents, and I got to do a shout out, Miss Cindy Beach, who's kicking it right now, went there, and she actually helped take him on the next tour and look at the furnishings and all that. So we were running numbers and market analysis, because one of the things I like to share about the auction platform, we have the ability to double end more because a lot of realtors are lazy, not professional. They won't run the numbers, or they just won't call us to get that. So we look at the valuation of a property about 7 different ways. And one of my areas of expertise is numbers. And so the same analysis I shared with the seller, since we were going to be double lending this property, the buyer decided that James and I were the experts, and he didn't want to work with his previous realtor. He wanted to maintain the relationship we had with him. So I provided him the scenarios, and I did not say to him, you need to pick X, Y, or Z. I said, here's the data, here's the information, and I recommend you put your best pen to paper so that you can take this property and not be into a competition, because we had received other offers, but not auction stopping numbers at that time.